Good morning, you beautiful English learners. What's up? I'm back. This is a catch up with Ronan. What have I been up to for the last 4 or 5 weeks? A whole bunch of shit. No real focus for this podcast. Just getting back into the swing of thing podcast, Getting back into the routine of recording content and recording podcasts for Little Seal English, your number one stop shop for learning real motherfucking English. No bullshit here. And no real plan. Sit back, relax, grab coffee, grab a beer, grab whatever it is you want, and let's learn some random English. I guarantee you're going to learn something in this podcast. You're absolutely going to learn it. If you don't, message me and I will send you a personal apology if there's nothing new in this podcast. All right, here we go. What's happening, you beautiful English learners? It's been a hot minute. It's been a hot minute because I've been up to my tits recently. I've been up to my tits in. 2 ways to use that beautiful English expression. To be up to your tits is busy, and then you would give more information by saying up to my tits in. And I guess over the last while, I've been up to my tits in a couple of different things. Number one, CELPIP. CELPIP is a language exam I teach. It's completely different to Little Seal English. However, it's quite popular because it is a language test for newcomers to Canada or people who want to get residency or citizenship in Canada. So therefore, it's quite popular. So I've been up to my tits in CELPIP. I've been up to my tits in CELPIP because I've been teaching CELPIP. I've been focusing on CELPIP. I've been creating tutorials for CELPIP. Now, I will be honest. It's not my favorite thing in the world to do, but I like money and I got bills to pay. So it's not too bad. I also do actually enjoy it. I can't undersell it because I do actually enjoy the work I do with this language test because the people I help are hardworking immigrants, filthy hardworking immigrants. I love that collocation. And if I can help make their lives better by helping them complete a language test, you bet I'm going to fucking do it. So yeah, it is not teaching real English, which is what I do with Little Seal, but it is teaching something incredibly valuable for them. So I've been up to my tits in CELPIP. And then what else? Oh yes, I've been up to my tits in Dogsitting. Dogsitting. So you've probably heard of babysitting. It's a sport where you sit on no, it's not. It is babysitting is when you mind someone's baby, right? House sitting is when you mind someone's house. That's really popular in Canada. I never knew how popular it was in Canada until I moved here, obviously. But house sitting is a legit career for some people. There are professional house sitters. And if you're going on vacation for a long time, you might pay someone to live in your house. It sounds wild. But, they would be responsible for the upkeep of the house. They would be responsible for checking the mail, for watering the garden, and just making sure it's safe, I guess. So to house sit, honestly, it's not a bad way to have free accommodation, to live a sort of nomadic life. It's not a bad thing to do. So my wife and I were house sitting for our friend Kyle, who went on vacation to Ireland, would you believe? So we were very excited to talk to him about that. But also the main reason was dog sitting. He has a beautiful dog. I'll have to go into detail about this dog in a few minutes. But our job was to mind the dog for 2 weeks. So for about 14 or 15 days, we weren't living in this apartment. We were living in his place, which is in downtown Kelowna. It's a nice modern apartment. It's very conveniently located next to bars and restaurants, which is incredibly dangerous for me because I have very little willpower. I think I became a regular at a place called Redbird and a regular at a place called Chico Chicken, which is Korean fried chicken. Oh my God, it was so good. It was too good. It was like crack. It was like crack. Now, there's a good expression for food. If food is like crack, it is very addictive. Crack is an incredibly addictive drug. Like meth, I guess. You don't even do meth, not even once. If you're considering doing meth, please don't. But If I say that food is like crack or that food was like crack, it means I became addicted to it very quickly. And yeah, I did. I became an absolute regular Chico chicken because it was only a 5-minute walk from the house or the apartment that we were staying in. Redbird is a brewery, by the way. A brewery. Good luck pronouncing that one. Is a place where they brew beer. They make their own beer. They produce their own beer. And in Canada, there is a strong tradition of that. It's not like other countries where if you go to a bar, you get the staples. Like in Ireland, there would always be Guinness on tap. You would have Budweiser, maybe Miller Genuine Draft, and maybe one or two others like Hoegaarden or something like that. They're all brand beers. And, you know, most bars around the country would have those or a selection of. Here, on the other hand, a lot of bars carry their own beer. They don't go for these big brand beers. Now, if I go to a chain of bars, like, you know, there's one here, there's one in the next town, there's one in the next town, so on and so forth, they generally have the more big brand beers. They generally have the regular name beers, like I said, Guinness, Budweiser, etc., etc. But Redbird is a brewery, and that means they make their own beer. So the beer that you get there, you can't really buy anywhere else. And it just so happens they have delicious beer and delicious pizza. So I wasn't working for more or less the 2 weeks that we were house sitting and dog sitting. And it was great. So I could spend all day in the bar and then go get Chico chicken after. Not that I did. Maybe. So I was dog sitting. What does it mean when you're dog sitting? Well, dog sitting means you gotta take care of the dog. You know, you gotta watch movies with the dog. You gotta see if the dog is okay, if they need therapy or something like that. No. Dog sitting is literally just minding the dog as if it's your own. Now, I love dogs. I've had a dog in my house at home. We've had 2 dogs in my lifetime. Beautiful things. Jess and Luna. Love them both. You've probably heard about Luna a lot. Jess, not so much. Anyways, this dog is a Weimaraner. Weimarer. A Weimaraner, I think is a pronunciation. It's a big dog. It's a hefty dog. Hefty dog. There's a good adjective. Hefty. Big, strong, bulky. And this dog is big, strong, and bulky. And I actually looked up some information with the dog. And the dog has a life expectancy of 11 to 14 years. The temperament of a dog would be like intelligent, aloof, fast, energetic, powerful, and stubborn. Aloof means they just don't give a fuck. Just don't care for you. You know, it's a very interesting word. That means if a person is aloof, A-L-O-O-F, they're not very engaging. If a person is aloof, A-L-O-O-F, they're not very friendly. They're not forthcoming. They're not very open. Maybe they're keeping a distance physically and emotionally. He's a very aloof person. It's hard to get a real sentence out of him. Aloof would mean that you don't really care for other people that much. You know, you're not, I don't know, how would I say, you're happier by yourself than with people. So the opposite could be gregarious. Gregarious. That's another nice adjective. Not the most common, but a nice one. You'll see it in reading or in passing conversation. Gregarious. And that's when you enjoy the company of other people. So this dog is actually like aloof. Doesn't really care for anyone else or anything else. And you know, you come home and you're like, hey, Snoop. His name is Snoop Dogg. And he just looks at you. He might come over or he might just stay in the bed. Like, he'll greet you with a nod or something like that. But this dog was a very interesting dog. And, you know, like I said, I've grown up in a house with dogs. And my dad was a farmer. And so the dogs in my house have rules, have a set schedule. But this dog, not so much. I'm not going to lie. I'm very happy dog sitting is over. Because I can get a full night's sleep without interruption. So when you're dog sitting, it's very important that you take the dog out, to take the dog out. And, you take the dog out for a walk, you take the dog out to pee, you take the dog out for exercise or for a run or just to get fresh air, to burn off some energy. Because if you don't, the dogs are going to be anxious or something like that. And Snoopy is a very anxious dog at times. One thing that our friend Kyle said before he left was, Snoop likes to pee. Snoop likes to pee at 4:30 in the morning. 4:30. And I immediately thought, fuck no, I'm not getting up at 4:30 to let this dog out to pee. Because it's not just letting the dog out to pee. You have to put the lead on, you have to get the poo bags, you have to go down the elevator, you have to go outside, wait for them to do their business, walk around a little bit, clean up after them, go to the garbage, put it in the garbage, go back up the stairs, and then try to get back to sleep. Not happening. Not on my fucking watch. So anyways, the first night, Snoop is there. And one thing I started to do in like the first 2 or 3 nights was taking them out before bed. So if we're going to bed at 10, I would take him out for a quick walk at 9:45. If we're going to bed at 9:30, I would take him out just before we're all getting ready to lie down. And it was so funny because, like I said, I looked up this dog, the Weimaraner. God, I cannot pronounce that name. It's so frustrating. And they're stubborn. That's another characteristic or a temperament description of this dog, is they are stubborn dogs. And I opened the door to bring him out and he did not budge because he was on the bed. He was relaxing. And I was like, Snoop, we have to go out. And he just looks at me with his eyes and then looked away. And I was like, oh no, you did not just do that. You did not just do that to me. You did not just blow me off like that. To blow a person off, many meanings. So I went over to the bed. I put the collar around his neck. And I more or less had to drag him out of bed. And he wasn't happy about this at all. Now, he would never bite or get aggressive or anything. But he was very stubborn, and he was kind of like dead weight. When a person is dead weight, they're not moving at all, and you have to drag them. And when a dog is dead weight, he's just sitting down, doing nothing. Dead weight can also refer to a person who is not very helpful or productive. If you're like in a group project, and you describe someone as dead weight, or if you're at work and you describe a colleague as dead weight, they're slowing you down. They're not helping you guys be successful. If anything, they're doing the opposite. They're hindering your success by being slow at what they do. If you're in a relationship and you describe your partner or your ex-partner as dead weight, they were slowing you down in life. This dog was lying down like dead weight. Did not want to go outside at all. So I had to drag him. And eventually, after I started dragging him, because there was wooden floors, and once he gets onto the wooden floor, he can't help it. He can't get any grip. And eventually he gave in and walked. But the funniest thing was, this dog just ran for the elevator. So he kind of dragged me, because like I said, he's a hefty dog. He's a strong dog. And dragged me towards the elevator. We go down the elevator, get to the ground floor, and he runs to the door, open the door, runs to the nearest tree, takes a pee, takes a poop, and then immediately runs back to the door to go upstairs. It was kind of like a moody teenager. If you're pesking your teenager to do the dishes or something, just do the dishes, 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 do the dishes. And eventually they're like, fine, I'll do the dishes. And they get up and they begrudgingly do the dishes. That's what it was like with Snoop. Like a moody little bitch, dare I say. So I think it was about 2 or 3 nights in when he kind of got the message. Kind of got the message that he was not going to be going for his walk at 4 or 4:30 a.m. Kind of got the message that the routine has changed a little bit. And that's the thing about dogs. Dogs love routine. They really want the same shit going on. They want to know what's happening. And this dog in particular. So after about the 3rd night, before bed, he would then be waiting by the door, which was nice. And I was like, that's a good dog. You're a smart dog, Snoop. You know how to survive with me in the house. The alpha. Rawr. And, so that was nice. But he's also There's some other weird traits about him, about this dog. His farts were toxic. Oh boy. When that dog farted, he'd clear the room. To clear the room. Now there's a good expression. A fart, as you know, is when you break wind or something like that. And when this dog farted, or when this dog broke wind, it was vile. It was toxic. It was disgusting. It was enough to kill a person. I actually had to kick him out of the room once because he wouldn't stop farting. The poor dog didn't really know why, but it was like, Snoop, are you fucking serious? What did you eat today? Like, seriously, what is going on in your stomach that is producing this nefarious gas? And so that was one thing that was horrible. Not much you can do. I mean, he has a clean diet. It's just whatever ingredients were there. He's not our dog, so I didn't want to toy with the food too much. I didn't want to try anything too new because he's not our dog. So that was one issue with him. The other issue was he was a little anxious at times, and at night he would walk around the apartment. So he didn't like lay in the bed. And here's another thing. He wanted to sleep on the bed. And that's what the owner does. So obviously we let him because it's his house too. And the first night, oh, the poor dog. The very first night when Kyle was gone, it must be very strange because all of a sudden 2 random people enter the apartment and were like, hey, we live with you now. The poor dog must have been really confused. Like, who the heck are these weirdos? But the first night we were there, he just sat at the edge of the bed and was whining and shaking until we said, come on up. And he jumped up and just curled up in a ball beside us. Like, very, very cute. He just wants to be part of the group at all times. He just wants to be with people at all times. He's a lovely dog like that. Forget where I was going with that. Oh yeah, the weird trait. So at nighttime, this dog would be like a little bit anxious, I guess. And one thing he would do would be just walk around the apartment. And I did wake up at like 3 o'clock one time, and I'd open my eyes, and his nose was like against my nose, just looking at me, just staring at me. And I was like, oh, good morning, Snoop. How are you doing? What time? Oh, it's 3 o'clock. Okay. Any chance you want to go back to bed, Snoop? Please? And the worst thing is, because it's a wooden floor apartment, you just hear the pitter-patter of the paws. The pitter-patter of the paws, like... have you ever heard mice run around? When you hear mice run around, the I don't know if the mic would pick that noise up, but it sounded like mice running. And I swear, for 2 weeks, I did not get a full night's sleep. It was very frustrating. It was like very frustrating because I'd come home from work and I'd be like, I started working the second part of the dog sitting time, and I'd be absolutely exhausted, try to get some sleep, and just keep waking up. So I learned a lot when I was dog sitting this guy. He's lovely, don't get me wrong. He is lovely, he is strong. Another thing that we looked up about this dog is they are nicknamed, or they're known to be Velcro dogs. Velcro dogs. And a Velcro dog, well, Velcro is that material that sticks to itself. So, kids often have Velcro shoes. Some camping gear will have Velcro straps, for instance. And this dog is a Velcro dog because it really wants to be next to you. It really wants to be touching you. Like, it doesn't matter if it's just your pinky finger or your toe that's touching him. He's just happy to have any physical contact. And that's definitely something that he was missing from when his owner, Kyle, is there. So, yeah, it was interesting to see that. But a great dog, don't get me wrong. Now, we did take a road trip with him. A road trip. So, Kyle gave us the keys to his truck. And obviously, I had to drive it because trucks are fun to drive. And we're talking this huge pickup truck. Now, I know a lot of my listeners are in Europe. And in Europe, the vehicles are tiny compared to North America and Canada. And Kyle was in Ireland at this time, and he sent us a picture of the car he's driving, and he was like, this is the smallest car I've ever driven. Because it was a standard car in Ireland, but in Canada, by Canadian standards, absolutely minute, tiny, minuscule. I was driving his truck, which is this huge Chevrolet something, diesel, and turbo diesel. So it's a work truck for Kyle because, he uses it to tow big, heavy things. but we used it for a road trip and some forest service roads. It's also an off-road vehicle, so it's incredibly strong, incredibly powerful. It's a gas guzzler, though. A gas guzzler. It has a drinking problem. It loves diesel. So much so that, like, it goes through diesel like nobody's business. It is absolutely incredible how quick it goes through diesel, and quite expensive to run. So it's like, for day-to-day driving, did not use it. For the road trip, yes. But here's the thing. On the road trip, that dog was anxious as fuck. Anxious as fuck. He was unable to relax. He was unable to sit down. He was unable to unwind or to sleep on the way there. Now, this road trip was about 3 hours. And for 3 hours, he was panting. Panting. That is panting. Very frustrating when you're driving a car and that is all you hear for 3 motherfucking hours. But it is our fault. It's our fault because we weren't properly prepared for the road there. So the first issue is the dog always wants to be touching someone. So my wife actually had to sit in the back because otherwise he would try to crawl to the front and then he would distract me and we'd crash the car and all die. Anyways, we get to the hot springs, we have fun, we stay in an Airbnb for the night, and then before we leave, before we drive back to Kelowna, we decided to tire him out. And there's a great phrasal verb, to tire out. To tire someone or something out is to make someone or something absolutely exhausted. How do you tire a child out? How do you tire yourself out? How do you tire a dog out? Tire a dog out. Well, before we left on the way home, we took him to the beach and we ran him. We ran the legs off him. We made him run. We had a tennis ball and we would throw it a lot. We had sticks and we would throw them in the water so he'd have to swim. And we spent about 30 or 40 minutes on the beach making him run and get tired. Then we drove for about 2 hours and we stopped at another beach and we repeated the process. And it was like night and day. Night and day. On the way, it was night. On the way home, it was day. On the way, he was anxious. He was panting. He was stressed. He couldn't relax. On the way home, it was the exact opposite. He was asleep for most of it. He was snoozing. He was absolutely relaxed and he was on cloud 9 in the back of the car. Huge difference. So it was night and day. And I do feel bad because on the way there, it mustn't have been easy for him. You know, he must have been very anxious and very scared, very worried, and all of those negative feelings that he had. And it sucks. Absolutely sucks in that case. But on the way back, much better. Much better. So yeah, dog sitting. That was an experience. I love dogs. Absolutely. I love dogs that are well trained. You know, I love dogs that don't pull on the lead. And, you know, for me, it was interesting. He didn't pull on the lead or anything like that. I must say, I mentioned earlier how he's aloof. It was kind of good that he is aloof. You know, like I said, doesn't really care for other people or dogs. You know, some dogs don't interact well with other dogs. They get aggressive, they get protective or something like that. But this dog, absolutely perfect with other dogs. It was funny, I was in the dog park and I would throw the tennis ball for him and he's very protective of his tennis balls. He does not share. He does not like sharing at all. Do you know anyone that does not like sharing? Because Snoop does not like to share. Snoop does not like sharing. So much so that we would be in the dog park and he would be drinking water from the dog bowl and the tennis ball would be beside the dog bowl, and if another dog comes over, he put his paw on the tennis ball as if to say, this ball is mine. Nobody come close. And he can fit 3 fucking tennis balls in his mouth. This is the other side of it too. It's like we thought we were being clever by bringing 2 balls, so he'd have to drop one and then give us back one so we could always keep him running. No. 3 fucking tennis balls in his mouth. So if we wanted to really run him, we'd need 4 tennis balls or 3 tennis balls and a stick. Something like that. Oh yeah. So because he's aloof, he didn't like sharing. Because we tired him out, the journey home was much easier. I asked there, like, that's how I tired the dog out. How can you tire a kid out? You know, if you're a parent and your kids won't sleep, how do you tire them out? How can you tire yourself out? You know, maybe, I can tell you how I tired myself out last week. I did a spring clean. Spring clean. So it's spring. Summer's around the corner. Maybe it is summer. I'm not sure. Anyways, spring clean is like a huge clean that you do of your house or apartment once every year, or maybe twice a year or something like that. But you go to every cranny in the building and in the apartment, every nook and cranny. You dust everything. You do more than you normally do. You scrub it down, everything. I also purged a lot of shit to purge. Purge. So like my wife and I are considering moving. Maybe back to Ireland, maybe somewhere else, maybe New Zealand. You know, we've lots of plans and we're thinking about what we want to do with our futures. Canada's great. We'll definitely come back. But whether or not we're here for the foreseeable future is unknown. But, so I did a spring clean and I purged a lot of shit. Purge. To purge is to get rid of ruthlessly. You know, to get rid of a lot of shit. And I purged so much crap. Water balls. So many water balls. Like, you know, the titanium ones or something like that. But I don't need 15 of them. Purged so many items that I don't even know how I got. And I swear I went up and down the staircase about 5 or 6 times to the garbage. And in this tiny apartment that I'm in, I covered over 11,000 steps. 11,000 steps. I cleaned everything. I dusted everything. I mopped all the floors, vacuumed everything, tidied, put away all the fucking clutter. Not gonna lie, I'm pretty fucking happy with it. I'm never gonna let it get that messy again or that dirty again because I just don't have the time to spend doing that every week or something. But by God, did I tire myself out. I tired myself out by cleaning. I tired myself out by covering over 12 or 11,000 steps in my 2-bed apartment. So if you ever want to tire yourself out, do a spring clean. And don't use the elevator if you got to use the garbage. We don't have an elevator in our building. So I had to go up and down by foot. And that's another great way to tire yourself out. Stairs. All right. Well, just want to say it's good to be back. Good to be back doing a podcast. This is a catch up with Ronan, Little Seal English podcast, as you know. No real plan for these types of podcasts, literally just to fill you in on whatever the fuck it is I've been up to. I do have to get to work, unfortunately, because I have a lot more to talk about, a lot more to say, a lot of crazy shit has happened in the last while. All good. But I'm very excited to get back into the routine of podcasting, content creation, and all of that. I'm very happy to be running the chats, as I call it, which is like a bi-monthly language class I host where myself and English learners get together and we talk about a certain subject. All the information is in the description. You're more than welcome to join. In fact, if you're looking for a place to shoot the breeze in a semi-formal way, like a very relaxed and natural conversation way, the chats is absolutely for you. Advanced learners, really. Maybe I'll do courses for other levels in the future, but right now with CellPip, with my job and stuff, I'm kind of up to my eyes or up to my tits and shit. So it's an easy one for me to host. And also I love it because we talk about everything and anything. It's wonderful for that. But yeah, I hope you're happy. I hope you're healthy. Thanks for being here. Have a wonderful day. This is the Little Seal English podcast. Today we spoke about dog sitting, CellPip, up to my tits, being busy and shit. We spoke about the adjective aloof, A-L-O-O-F, where you don't really care for others. We spoke about the adjective gregarious, where you get energy from people. You like being around people, for example. To get energy from. I sound like an energy vampire. Let me know if you get the reference for that. And Yeah, dog sitting, house sitting, babysitting, different types of sitting, you could say. Road trip with a car. I'll do a separate podcast about the hot springs we went to visit because it was magnificent. It's one that it's been on my bucket list for a long time, so I'll definitely have to record a podcast for that. And yeah, life is good. Anyways, thank you for being here, and we'll catch you soon. Bye for now.